folks will be more folks will be joining soon, but we'll start off because there's a lot that I want to cover. Welcome to this fireside chat with two of India's most esteemed icons in nursing, Thankam Gomez and Colonel Binu Sharma. And I'm sure you will agree with me that they really need no introduction within our nursing ecosystem. So, this evening, we have the privilege of delving into the remarkable life journeys. Both of them have had fantastic career trajectories and very different career trajectories. One went into the army and then onto corporate hospitals. The other person went into the civilian life, went abroad, came back, and is today one of India's, I think, only nursepreneurs, as she likes to call. So, very, very different career paths, both equally, fantastic. And I think, two of the strongest, most esteemed leaders that we have. So today we're going to actually delve into their illustrious careers, learn from their experience and leadership. And on a personal note, I have to admit that this is a fangirl moment for me because I have seldom seen two women at their age so gung ho, so tech savvy, and absolutely, authentic, no nonsense, plain speakers. So that's what attracts me to their spirits. And I can't wait to get started and get a sneak peek into their hearts and into their minds. So I'll just pause here for a minute and I'll let Thankam and Colonel Binu say hello to the audience.
Binu, after you.
Thank you, Thankam. Thank you, Indrani. Myself, Col Binu Sharma, and glad to be part of this fireside chat. So we wish to see how it goes and how the audience feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Indrani. Hi, Binu. I am very happy to be in a fire chat. I was wondering that when fire chat means something will be cooking and something is going to be hot. So I'm all ready to make everything hot and peppery and everything. Looking forward for your challenging questions and very happy to be here. Thank you for coming up with something like this. It's very interesting and looking forward. And I'm also very honored that I'm sharing the stage with Binu. And we will enjoy as we go along. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you both. And yes, like, as the fireside chat says, actually, though, in this heat, we should have called it maybe waterfall chat or something, by the sea. So, instead of having a fiery fireside on, please imagine that we are by the water, have your drinks in your hand and relax and sit back to enjoy the next 90 minutes. We are really going to have a very intimate, personal, professional chat. We'll try and really distill their experience of life and nursing careers, as it were, and see what we can take off for ourselves. So, without further ado, let's straight, jump into this chat. And as you all know, it's being recorded, so we will also put it up. But let's begin, I think, with your life journeys. And the first question that struck to my mind, and I know I've had individual chats with you around this, but it's such a wonderful story. I think everybody needs to know that. But could you share with our audience that pivotal moment or experience in your life that really shaped your decision to pursue your career in nursing? So maybe we could start with Thankam and then move to Binu.
Well, the question is pretty hard hitting. Answer is very simple. I never wanted to be a nurse.
Oh, okay. That's an honest admission.
I actually wanted to be a doctor, like many young girls of those times. But family circumstances kind of made me realize that if my dad sends me to medical college, that will be what he will do. All my other siblings probably may not get a chance or support because I know that it was very expensive. So then I said, oh, the next person next to doctor is nurse. So I'll become a nurse. And I had no idea what nursing is all about. And when I went for the interview also, so all these are very ordinary, just stumbling into something. So the American nuns, they were interviewing me and they asked, okay, child, why do you want to become a nurse? So I said, because I cannot become a doctor. So I said, you're not saying I want to serve the humanity, do this. I said, I have absolutely no idea. I like to be doctor, but now I can't, so I'm a nurse. So she said, I will meet you again in 1 year's time. In 1 year's time, many things happened. I had no idea nurses had to do night duty. So first time as a probationer with 17 years, wearing sari with so many people's help, and then going for night shift. And I asked sister, I said, sister, you mean that I will not sleep tonight? She told me, child, the patients, they do not go home in the night. They are still in the hospital. So we need someone to look after them. I said, okay. Then I cried, and I went for duty. Then that's how I started my career. The moment where I started enjoying the nursing is probably when appreciation came my way from patients, from doctors. I was just 30, 35, 37 kgs short. So you can imagine everybody used to call me Chutki. So patients will say, wo Chutki kahan gayi? And I slowly started experiencing the satisfaction of being a nurse. I would say that that was my moment when I realized that I have to make the best of this profession. And I kind of thrived on the appreciation that came, because in that young age, appreciation is all that I wanted. And that's what I would say. Otherwise, there was no other special moment when I said I want to become a nurse. Nothing like that. By the way, I wanted to become military nurse.
Oh, and that's the perfect segue for me to, I think, move to
Why I
Binu.
couldn't become, I should tell, is because my mother went on dharna. And she said, I will commit suicide if you become a nurse. Why? Because my father was from Army Medical Corps. So she had suffered, during 2 wars,
Okay.
waiting for Papa. So that's the end of my this thing. So I always look up to military nurses and I envy them for their uniform. I always used to think, why couldn't I wear that uniform once? So the story can go on. I would like to hear from
That
you.
really
We never
resonated.
talk to each other on these things. We talk to
We
each
have
other.
now.
That really resonated, Thankam, because I'm sure, like me, you would also have been chucked out by the army on height grounds, you know. So let me move
That's
to
interesting.
let me move to Colonel Binu, and what was that moment? I know a little bit of that story, but I would love the audience to hear this from you.
So for me, I had no clue what is a nurse, how a nurse looks like, or even a doctor for that matter. These two personalities or professionals I had seen only on a TV, a black and white TV. And honestly, most of the time, in old Hindi movies, they showed nurses sleeping at the patient's bedside on a chair, napping at night, etc. So I had no clue who is a nurse. I never wanted to be a nurse. I wasn't aware of being a nurse. I was a science student doing very, very well, belonged to a village in Delhi. And at that time, a very, very small village, which is Mahipalpur. I studied a bit in the village, moved to Delhi cantonment, and had a tough journey going to the school in cantonment. Ultimately, I did well in my board exams, which is 11th, and I took up I wanted to do then pre-medical. By then I thought, okay, medicine is a very respectable field. I wanted to be a doctor, like Thankam said. But before I could give the exam, those days we had entrance exams after pre-med, I got malaria and I could not appear for the exam. So that went out of the window. So the next best passion I had was for mathematics and statistics. I joined statistics honors in Delhi University in Shri Venkateshwara College in South Campus. That was the first batch of DU. And stats and maths was my favorite subject.
Wow.
And I'd gotten distinctions in maths throughout. So I chose stats. I joined it. I was the only girl in a batch of 10. And it was a very, very dry subject. I was enjoying stats, but a very dry subject. And to be very honest, the boys in my class were too studious. It didn't excite me. They wouldn't talk. We were all immersed in books. And after the first semester, where I topped actually, but I started thinking, although my brain is there, my heart is not there, what I'm doing. I became restless, although my parents were very happy with my decision of stats. My brother loved it, elder one, because he was again a maths passionate guy. And one of the days while traveling in the bus from college to home, I spotted an advertisement in Delhi Cant. Join the military nursing services and pay different. I said, what is this military nursing services? So there was some address given, and I decided I just got out of the bus same moment. And I'm very spontaneous and impulsive. I used to be, at least once upon a time. I got out, I found the address, took an auto, went there. I found out that a form has to be filled up. I did all that. They had some written exams and an interview, and it so happened that I found myself in the merit list. Till then, my parents had no clue what I've been up to. And one final day, I got a joining letter to start my career as a cadet officer at Ashwini, Mumbai. And there was a joining date, which was about 15 days later. Now, that was the time I had to share with my parents. I kept thinking for a few days. Finally, I went to my dad and I said, I need to go to Mumbai. He looked at me, he said, something has gone wrong with her. He said, Mumbai for what? You want to be a heroine? You're not as good looking. I said, नहीं, मुझे हीरोइन नहीं बनना है, but मुझे कुछ और बनना है. ये बहुत exciting सी कोई चीज है. कहते, then he saw the letter. He said, you gone mad? You want to be a nurse? That too in the Indian Army? We are from a Brahmin family. Our girls don't go out of the city. There's that. And they were all very, very sure that I'm not leaving stats and I'm continuing. I'll become a professor, do my PhD, etc., etc. But I was always very, very stubborn and very sure that if I've decided it's my way, that's it. So I told them, either give me money to go to Mumbai, buy me a ticket, or I go to my mama and ask him to buy me a ticket. I was very favorite of my youngest mama, my mom's younger brother. So they saw the stubbornness in me, the certainty in me. They bought a ticket for me. They said, will you travel alone? I said, I will do that. I've never gone out of Delhi. I've never traveled apart from a bus anywhere myself. But I packed a bag, sat on a train for the first of a time, landed in Mumbai, and entered my nursing life. I was very happy for a few months when we were having classrooms, very exciting teachers, those Anglo-Indian trainers. I still remember Sister Victoria, Sister Frances. I was enjoying it. But when we were taken to the hospital for our initial experience, again, a sari for a few months, a white sari, which I don't know how to tie, but managed it somehow with the help of my roommate. I remember her, Kalpana Das. And when we were made to do the cleaning of the bed in the mattress as our first-hand experience, I thought this is not the place for me. I am not here to clean beds, but we had no choice. It was army. It was yes, sir, yes, ma'am. Somewhere around the first year when we started interacting with patients, we started talking to them, listening to them. We started interacting with all others in the hospital. Indian Navy had so many people in uniform, white uniform. That was the time I thought, okay, maybe it's a place that I don't go back to my Delhi hometown. I continue to see. Then end of first year, I topped. End of second year, I excelled, I topped. End of third year, I topped. I kept excelling in my studies, became a blue-eyed girl of teachers, doctors, also a lot of patients. And then I thought, every year when I came back home, my dad asked me, do you want to come back? Don't feel apprehensive. Anytime you can come back. By the end of third year, I told him, this is where I'm going to excel. I'm going to stay. And I will show you one day that my decision is better than being in stats. And here I am today with all of you. Thank you.
Wow, wow. So a quick word to the audience. I know because we are on a digital platform, anytime you all feel like hugging hugging or cheering for whatever Thankam or Colonel Binu are saying, and it really resonates, please use the emoji buttons. And do share your comments on the feedback. I think that will be really nice. But what fascinating stories. Fantastic. I mean, both who did not really plan to be in nursing and ended up in nursing, and today are two of the leading icons of the country. Fabulous, fabulous. So I think moving on from that particular moment when you decided, that this is what we need to do, nursing hi karna hai. I now want to move a little bit ahead now into your careers, and both of you have had many different roles, like I was mentioning. One has done army, corporate, within corporate, again, different types of hospitals, greenfield, large corporate hospitals. I'm sure 1,000 roles within the army. And then for Thankam, a really checkered career path in the sense that, you know, conventional nurse, then went abroad, then came back, a full corporate nursing director experience, and then really, broke free to move into and try something on her own around technology, around training, her two passions. So I want to actually ask, and maybe I'll begin with Thankam, that of all the many different roles that both of you've done, are there one or two roles that really stand out in your mind in terms of singular roles which at that moment helped you really develop? Either they were challenging or they were very different and therefore pushed you out of the comfort zone, and therefore today when you look back, you will actually identify, okay, those two roles really helped me blossom and grow. Thankam, you're mute.
Thank you, Indrani, for that question. So, answer that which is my dearest role is pretty easy. But before I reveal which is my dearest role, there are a couple of events, when I was a student. It's very clear in my head. And I am very grateful to the organization where I was trained to be a nurse, that is Holy Family Hospital in Okhla, New Delhi. So I remember wearing sari in the probation period. We have been taught how to take, BP and pulse, and temperature. So obviously, as students, we are asked to take, vitals of all the patients. Even today, it happens like that. So I'm taking the vital of a patient in a very clearly remember it's a 3-bedded, room. So I'm taking all the 3 patients. So I'm taking the vitals of this patient, and we were taught that, you should do by palpation BP first, then bring the mercury all the way down, take the second one, and then in case, you're not very sure, bring it down, wait for a couple of seconds, then BP again. So I am taking BP. And from this side, I can see Dr. Sridharan, who is our teacher, who is the consultant, he has come with the team. And I did not stop doing what I was doing because I was also told patient is the supreme. So when you're doing something with the patient, you should not stop for anyone. This is how the nuns taught us. So I'm going up and down twice. And then his thermometer is in his mouth. Then I take the pulse. I did everything. Then I removed the thermometer and then I said, "Good morning, sir." So he had this very funny smile on his face. Okay. And he did like this, he did like this. And he said, "Just see me outside the room." I said, "Oh my God, what did I do? Will he scold me?" When I came out, he told me, "Thankam, never change this attitude of yours." So I was like little confused. What does he mean by attitude of? He said, "For patient, you are the best. So don't sacrifice your patient safety for anyone." This was not a safety or something. He said, typically the moment they'll see the consultant, they stop everything, and he said that attitude keep with you. So the most enjoyable role I had in my entire career was when I was a staff nurse, bedside nurse, where I decided what I want to be for my patient. But the moment I stepped up, became a TL, then I realized I cannot get what I did for my patient from everyone. I'm sure that Binu is smiling. It's the same thing. As an individual, you can decide what you want to be for your patient, whether you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hello.
You
Ah,
can decide.
சொல்லுடா.
Joe,
Can you please?
let's have everybody on mute.
Okay, I kind of muted her. So where was I? Yeah. So that I found challenging, but with every role, though I loved my, bedside role, and that basic confidence, being champion for patient safety, always was with me. So that gave me always that vision. This is I want to be. And also when I was a staff nurse, I used to see my matron in her big dress, and she was tall. And so I said, my God, for matron, you have to be so tall and heavy. Yeah? But how will I become that tall? No way. Then I told myself, I will also become nursing head, nursing superintendent. They were called as nursing. I will also become. These thoughts are happening at 17, 18 years old. So from there, obviously, my passion for critical care came once I got into cardiology. I was so passionate, and I loved, arguing with the doctors on ECG, and, kind of, exchanging chocolates. Those days, 5 star is very precious, and, you can't buy 5 star. So every ECG, I'll tell my resident, if you are right, I'll give you 5 star. If I'm right, you give me 5 star. So that became an exciting journey of learning. And, I just enjoyed being a nurse. I never felt that it was, a burden. There were tough times, difficult days when I had cried. Some days I thought, why did I become a nurse? All these thoughts came. Today, when I look back at 64 years with 40 years of experience, 40 plus years of experience, not just I have sabbatical for 3 years. That's why that minus comes. So in all this role, I would say that I enjoyed every single role. And there was a deciding moment in Fortis when we had done our LDI. There was an opportunity that all the people who went through the, organization's LDI, they were handpicked to become the unit head of some hospital. So obviously after that, the CEO had asked that how many of you want to be unit heads? So my hand was like, oh, an opportunity to become something else. So I wanted to, but then in 1 second, believe me, the thoughts were like too many going through my head. And after coming back to India, I realized there is so much to be done in nursing. So that time I put my hand down and I was asked, you don't want to be facility head? So I said, it's not that I don't want to be. There is so much to do in nursing. I would rather stay back and contribute my profession. So I would never regret that decision. I would never. I may say, okay, that would have been exciting, but I'm very, very happy that I'm able to stick to the profession, give back to the profession, and do various different roles. I think that's what is very exciting, because technology is coming, various things are happening, and every day I'm learning something. Every day I'm learning something. So I would say this profession has given me everything for me. And what I am today, even physically, financially, spiritually, whatever it is. And that's what it is, because my father advised me once, you may have a lot of problems come into your life, but always the problems will have a solution. You know why? You are blessed. So I said, why are you so confident? He just told me one thing, because you had been a great nurse. He didn't tell me you had been a leader or something. He said you had been a great nurse, because my dad always knew about my patients. What happened, if there are sad days, I will go and, share with him. Not every day. I mean, whenever I'm on leave, I will have this long, line of stories, that patient, this patient. So he could feel the passion that I was sharing. So uh, this is what I would say, that I feel so blessed that I chose this profession. From the day when I said, I don't know why I'm becoming a nurse, because I can't become a doctor. So being an excellent nurse is anytime better than an average doctor. I was
Ooh,
told by my ICU guru.
wow. This needs
Yes.
a clap. Everybody clap. Wow. Very, very well said. No, and moving to Binu, what, I mean, again, many different roles in many different organizations. Any one or two roles, you need not name the employers, but any one or two roles that really stand out for you in terms of learning and challenges?
Feeling nostalgic when Thankam has been speaking because many of us would have gone through similar moments, emotions, and the journey. What I remember very distinctly is once I was doing a night duty in an acute medical ward as a very young nurse. I think even less than 1 year experience. That was Delhi-based hospital. I still remember it. We those days were not even formally trained in basic life support or advanced cardiac life support. In today's time, every single nurse gets certified. At night, a patient, when I went to take vitals, the story started with vitals. I was just moving and I went to take vitals of a patient. I found the patient was unresponsive. He wasn't responding to me when I called out his name. And I suddenly realized this patient has collapsed. I didn't know too many technical things at that time, but I knew how to give a CPR that was taught to us briefly sometimes during a student period in the Indian Navy. And I started the CPR and I called out to somebody, shouted that get the doctors, etc., etc. And we, in about few minutes, we took the patient with the ambu bag. We didn't have portable ventilators, etc. With the ambu bag, we rushed the patient to an ICU. I was with the patient. I went to ICU, and this patient, young fellow, he survived. And next day morning, when he was wide awake, I was still in the ICU because I was on night duty. I just didn't want to leave him. That was my first moment of resuscitating a patient all by myself, taking charge of that, saving a life. And it was about 8 a.m. when the entire medical team came for a grand round, right from a senior advisor, nearly 10, 12 doctors. And they saw the patient, they heard the episode from the in charge of the ICU. He said, oh, who's that girl who saved him and who brought him here? I again, a small sized person among all so many men and ladies, I stood somewhere behind. He called me ahead. He said, you know what you've done? You've done something which most of my doctors would not have been able to do. And I'm not sure about the nursing officers. You've saved a young life. That is what the medical profession is meant for. So I would want you to move to ICU because you can do more wonders in the ICU. I was a ward nurse till then. With 1 year of experience, I was moved to critical care. From then, I enjoyed being in critical care every single day because every single day you receive patients very critical, coming on a stretcher, unconscious, in coma, not sure whether they will live through. Those days we didn't have a pediatric ICU separate or etc. Pediatric, adults, you would see different kind of age group, but all very serious. Family members anxious and crying and standing outside. And when you take care of those patients, you don't want to go home. You don't want to go to hostel. I was staying in hostel. I just didn't want to leave. I didn't feel hungry. I didn't want to have a tea break. I would see this, let me stay. Let me see how the monitor is doing. And we learned the cardiac rhythms. I started recognizing atrial fibrillation, ventricular fibrillation. And in the army, we were empowered to give a DC shock, which is an electric shock to a patient when a patient needs it. And one of the days when I did the DC shock to a patient who was in VF, and again saved that patient. And then the doctors, senior doctors started trusting me so much. They started engaging and involving me in a lot of decision making. During the rounds, they would pass on the ECGs, different rhythm ECGs to the entire team of 10, 12 people. And they will ask who can recognize this. And my hand would go up. Sir, me. He'll say, wait, let me hear from others. So that competitive streak that I can excel here and I'm getting better every single day. Affirmed my decision of staying in the profession. So that was in the clinical area. I did not realize over the time, I just got developed into managerial roles unofficially. I had no title. of a managerial role. I started managing big ICUs, 50-bedded ICUs, taking charge of teams, patients, and people started expecting me to take the command. So I moved into clinical come administrative roles while within the army, and corporate happened by accident. I did not ever plan to get out of the army. I was enjoying, was doing very well. I had all-round best officers trophy. I had a commendation medal while I was in Kolkata Eastern Command. I was doing well. I had zero plan any time to move out of the army. I wanted to be a brigadier, then a major general. They were my role models. And I was very sure I'll be one very soon. And then in one of the gatherings, I met Mr. Analjit Singh. At that time, the owner of Max Healthcare. They were starting Max. And I met him and we got talking, and he said, what are you doing? You are a very smart kid. And why don't you join the corporate world? I said, and corporate means what? I had no idea what's a corporate. Those days, we didn't have the exposure. We didn't have Google. We didn't have any media coverage. He said, I'm starting hospital chain, Max. I said, I haven't heard of it. I have no interest. He still gave me some contact numbers. He said, someday I would like to meet you over a coffee. I had no inclination of going and meeting him, but they pursued it for a while. Some assistant from his office reaching out to me, ma'am, can you come and meet for a cup of coffee? This is how I went to the Lajpat Nagar office of Max those days, Delhi. And I went in my uniform, and they were all impressed with the army uniform, the olive green uniform. They wanted me badly in Max, and I wasn't sure. I was in a stable government job, army job with a promising career, and aiming high with all the dreams. And I again pushed myself to come out of the comfort zone of a stable and secure job against all odds. Came to a corporate where I knew nothing, and I had a challenge of not knowing computers. I didn't even have a mail ID. I've never handled or touched a computer. I'd just seen one. And in the army, we didn't have any digitalization those days. And first day when I was, there was a computer in the office when I joined Max, I was wondering, what will I do with this? I did not let anyone know my weakness. I went and joined a course to learn Word and Excel and PowerPoint and basics. I didn't know how to do a car driving. I used to only drive a two-wheeler in the army. I bought a car. I learned car driving. These were my two personal challenges, which I overcame within 4 weeks' time. And I thought, if I can overcome this, I can overcome anything. Corporate suited me very well. I'm very thankful to God that I've been blessed with so many people supporting me and helping me to reach where I am today. So comfort zone is not for achievers. That's my message to the nurses. Come out of your comfort zone. In today's time, when we tell someone, take up a cluster role, no, ma'am, I can't travel. Leave alone that. When I tell a very competent staff nurse, we'll make you a team leader, you need to manage the department. No, ma'am, I will rather be with the patient. I can't manage the managerial roles, because again, that's a comfort zone we develop. Although we may continue to do well, but if you want to grow, if you want to excel, you have to come out of the comfort zone. That's me.
Wow, fabulous. And I think, corollary to both your answers is, again, both of you are two people I've seen who are so tech savvy. Anything tech and your eyes light up. Thankam, of course, I've had the pleasure of working very closely with her through our Nurse Indian Signet partnership. And I can, with Thankam's permission, I can tell everybody here today that Thankam almost is romancing technology. Every day she will learn something in generative AI and chat GPT. And, she puts me and my co-founder to shame. So that's fabulous. And I know even Binu in our earlier conversation, anything tech, your eyes light up, whether it's a learning platform or it's a. So, at your stages of your career, when really there's nothing much to prove to anybody. It's just an internal drive, I think, driving both of you to wherever you all wish to go. How do you how do you stay relevant and at so ease in a tech driven world, where, I mean, is it something that comes very naturally to you, or do you all actually set aside some time often and pick up the latest, let's say, in tech and chat? Because even, let's say, for folks who are far younger than you, okay, it's not easy to to become conversant overnight. Whether it could be something as simple as Zoom to being very conversant, let's say, with chat GPT. I mean, what's that learning muscle? How do you develop that learning muscle to stay relevant? And maybe Binu can continue, and then I move to Thankam.
Would say adapt the changing environment. We all say change is constant. If the entire world is moving towards technology, digitalization, it's not a matter of young, middle age, or being old. We all need to adapt changing environment. We all have adopted the mobile phones, Instagram, Facebook. We have all moved to OTT platform for entertainment. So why not move to technology in healthcare, which is definitely going to save our time, which is going to improve efficiency. And I love anything new. For me, every single day, if I can learn something new, either I read a book or I watch some videos on my system about making a difference somewhere. So I think keeping your mind open to anything, like a small kid, be curious, be eager, and you will learn. Our mind is very, very young. Don't mention our age at all. We are both just 64 years. Our mind is as young as a 16 years old. Tangam, you would agree with me. And we can beat anybody in terms of adoption and learning. I mean, it's all about keeping yourself with the changing times. So that's simple. It's very simple. I don't think I ever made any special effort to learn any of these, either technology, digitalization, and healthcare digitalization has been my passion for nearly 20 years. I've gotten involved in this. At my previous organization, I was part of creating the entire clinical hospital information system with our internal team. And I still think that's one of the great platform we created. It was so simple for doctors and nurses to use. And many platforms I find very complex. So we designed it. It is very, very simple. It's not a burden. Although many nurses, many doctors, many professionals feel uh, technology is so tough, especially my message to the mid-level nurses, that why do you get scared and apprehensive of adoption of technology? They would just back off. We keep hiring a lot of people. I've got nearly 8,000 nurses. We hire people of every age, stature, understanding, comprehension, experience. And young ones are excited about it. They would adopt anything in 48 to 72 hours, whatever new formats you give in technology. But people who are not in that age group, at least I would say people somewhere in mid-level, are little, they have a shell around them. They think they can't learn. So guys, break that shell around you and you will do wonders. You'll be surprised by your own ability in technology adoption. That's my only message there.
Whoa, whoa! I mean, applause, applause. Thankam, how do you manage to romance Chat GPT and Gen AI even today? Tell me.
Oh, I was listening to Binu and a lot of memories were coming. So let me tell all this romancing with the new things is I always had been a vivid reader. And slowly I realized I can tell stories, I can train people in very simple manner. The first time I took ECG class in Saudi Arabia when I went there as a critical care nurse. So when I trained the basics of arrhythmias, so the word went around that I'm very simple in when I'm explaining. So then the next time the doctors came, the asking actually in Arabic, can you take wallahi, can you take one session for us because we heard that you are very simple. So I said yes. So the conduction system itself to explain, I used very normal stories to say this is what it is, no rocket science. So I realized I have a passion for training and teaching. So there is always something driving us. Now to lead someone or to train someone, you should have done it before. So I have to do it myself. Second thing is you should know a little more than them. It's today's date, it is very easy to take something from the Google, paste it on PPT and tell, but you will lack the authenticity, right? If you have done it. So I always used to tell my team people that, I will not ask you to do anything that I have not done myself. So when I ask my team to learn Excel, I'll say I learned Excel. So if Binu went to the training center to learn during my sabbatical year, I went to Aptech. But believe me, Aptech didn't teach me anything because I learned by doing myself. They tell you the basics. So another basic thing to all the youngsters is that we did not learn something and left it, or I took a certificate and left it. Always practiced what I learned. So then it becomes thorough in our head. So no magic will happen, as Binu said, in our comfort zone. We really have to come out of the comfort zone to do anything different, special. And I always tell that, what you see of me today did not happen overnight. It happened throughout my life, me investing in myself. There is no harm in loving yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, apart from saying like, oh, you're so cute, like Amitabh did, that's a different thing. You should feel proud of yourself that you have done something in life. But it's each one's choice. But whoever is in nursing profession, if you start enjoying and growing every day, then usually you don't work any of those days. The work is your passion. So that's what they say. If your passion is your job, then you don't feel that as a stress. So you don't feel like, saying I will retire. I mean, I'm not saying nobody should retire. You should also retire, have your fun, no problem. All our DNAs are different. Me and Binu, I don't think we will ever think ghar mein baithenge. I don't think so. My son says, no, you continue to work, whatever you want to do, because he knows. So he knows that there'll be some problem in my life if I am not going to be what I am. So I'm sharing this, all the future nurse leaders sitting here. If you do the same thing, what you are doing, you will not get any different results. So for me, I always wanted to be ahead of everyone in knowledge, what's happening in nursing, what's happening. So the more I read, the more curious you become. So the moment AI came, COVID came, I learned my virtual world, gave me confidence to start my own company. And that confidence didn't come overnight. It came with all the experience and the work that I have put in the previous years. That's the confidence I got, right? So then took advantage of COVID. Then AI started to come. I said, now I should learn AI so that my work, the productivity can increase. So I invested in a course in generative AI. I went online, I learned. After that, they were selling a course of 1 lakh something. So I said, no, I don't want to learn that. It's not required. So I just wanted to make my time more efficient and still have time with my golden retriever, my son. So that's what I chose. And I would say that, you can choose whatever you want and you can make the best of it, provided you're willing to work towards it. And there's one more thing I learned in my entire life. Two statements I tell myself. One, the decisions I make, good, bad, ugly, they are my decisions. I don't blame anyone for that. If the outcomes were painful, I am accountable. I'll never blame anyone. So that gives me a lot of peace. In the initial days when you're young, you tend to give some excuse. It happened because of that. That happened because of that, all that. But when it comes to serious matters in life, I have decided to be peaceful own the entire decision and the results. And if they were not very positive, learn from it so that you don't repeat the same mistake again. And that is very relevant to nurses, right? If we don't learn from our mistakes and others' mistakes, then we are not being sincere to our patients, because it's very important. So in Fortis also, when I was there as the group director, I only worked in Fortis in my career after I came back from Middle East, not any other hospital. So when a newspaper clipping comes, that in some hospital, the gauze was retained. So I usually never used to say, oh, it happened there because they are doing that. My tension is now audit my process so that none of the hospitals in our network hospitals should not have a. So we started auditing, I will be pushing it. We have to do it. तो क्या है उनको प्रॉब्लम है ना कि किसने बोला कि यहाँ नहीं हो सकता. So that attitude of willingness to say there is scope to improve, not only in professional life, even in personal life, is very important. So I'm very happy to say I'd been struggling to lose weight for so many years. It was stuck at 72. Then last year, June, my son said कि mama dieting करते. मैंने कहा मैं भी करती हूँ साथ में. Now I am stable at about 65, 66. So finally achieved. Every time I used to say this is something I couldn't achieve. So finally I told my son, something I always complained, I achieved. So I'm telling the stories. They are stories nice to hear, but behind that, there are some values and principles that we live by. And that values and principles come out through our personality when we interact with others. So that is what I would like to tell. Be yourself, be your genuine self, have your own values, but stick by that. And one quick advice to all nurses is that if you become a patient champion, a lot of things will fall in place automatically. My leadership classes, I always say, don't go and cry for nurses in front of the management. Cry for the patient because they cannot push you back. Argue for patients, good things will happen for nurses as well. So I'm sure we both have lots and lots of stories. We can go on and on. So I will allow you to ask the next question to Matt.
No, I mean, thank you for that, both of you. I think some common themes really that I picked up, and I'm sure there are many, many more. You mentioned values and principles, and I think both of you are characterized by this unquestionable thirst for knowledge. Anything new, but you have to get over, master it, pehle. And I think both of you love a good challenge. There is nothing more than a good challenge that both of you, I mean, you love a good challenge. Great. I think we will now move into the next section where I really want to explore the theme of leadership through both your experiences and learnings. Okay, this question, and I know there are many nursing leaders in the audience as well, and therefore I hope this will be quite relevant. But and as a distant observer, wearing my HR head hat in an earlier avatar, one of the things that I noticed was that nursing in any hospital is 70% of at least 70% of the manning. It is 70% of the expenses. It is 70% of headcount for sure. It is the factor that makes or breaks, I think, an overall patient experience. Okay, there's just so many things, and yet when you're in a management meeting, in a cross-functional meeting, not a nursing meeting, mind you, in a cross-functional meeting, I have seen largely nursing leaders either remain quiet or only speak when asked. Now, I was also trying to, and I'm not saying this is true for everybody. I'm sure there are many vocal ones out there as well. But when I look at both of you, and I almost shudder to think the kind of logic and the questions you all would be asking your own bosses or CEOs, in that boardroom. So, how can folks become like that and really claim their seat at the management, in a management meeting or a management setting and really own that? Because you guys, own the head, the maximum asset. Uh, Maybe we can start with Binu.
Okay, interesting question. So I would say we women, and more so in the nursing profession, are very, very emotional and reactive. As a leader, both of these emotions don't work. In the boardroom, being emotional or being reactive does not work. Now, if you talk of specifically nursing numbers or nursing cost, etc., we all go through it initially. We all have gone through it where, because nursing numbers are so big, if you got total 700 people in a hospital, 350, 380, less than 400 will be nurses. So everyone thinks if there has to be cost management done, then let's make a difference there. Maybe we tweak those numbers slightly. But our leaders would, they're accepted by a yes sir, yes ma'am, because they do not have the evidence and data with them. They may not have a data driven, what is the nursing cost? What are they spending in training? What is the nursing revenue we are generating? And this nursing revenue used to be a very, very new word couple of years back. About 15 years back, I made a presentation in a conference on nursing revenue. Many people came to me, what is the nursing revenue? Nursing to cost center hota hai. What is the revenue? So I then spoke to them about it. So long time back, say about 10, 15 years back, sitting in the management meetings, say about 15 years back, 2007 or 8, when I used to be in the P&L reviews of various hospitals, I was with a chain of hospitals. Being a nurse, although loving mathematics, did not understand the P&L, understood it only very little. So then I questioned myself. I said, I'm sitting in the boardroom for P&L review, and people are sharing the cost, the margin, the EBITDA, and ABCD, top line, bottom line. I don't understand everything of it. I tried to study it through system and some short courses online. I was not very sure whether I have it. So I was in Bangalore. I went to my CEO. I told him, see, I am sitting in the P&L reviews, but I want to learn financial management. He looked at me, a 6 feet 3 inches CEO. He looks at me, says, Binu, why do you need it? You're doing excellent in nursing. I said, no, either I don't sit in those reviews, but that won't happen. So I have to enroll myself into something. And I went with the solution, not just the problem statement. I went with a course. I said, there's a program of 6 months at the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. And I want to enroll myself there. He says, okay, you have time and interest and understanding and the need. I said, I have the need and I have the interest. And it was a weekend program, 2 days in a week, Saturday, Sunday. I enrolled and I realized within a few weeks, I'm becoming a master. And in 6 months' time, I got my certification. And much before that, I started picking up every minute detail of the P&L which was being discussed. I started questioning the unit heads that this cost is high or this net cash flow needs to be better or the margins can be better. So people used to look at me, okay, nursing lead is talking about P&L. That organization was very progressive on investing in nursing. So again, during the journey, some people wanted again to touch upon the cost and the manning, etc. I started getting the data from our business intelligence reports from the system on nursing revenues. Nursing revenues come from nursing service charges. We look after patients. There are ICU charges, there are ward charges. We do a lot of nursing procedures, which only we do. So there is a procedure charge in the system, and that goes to the hospital, but there's a procedure charge. If a doctor does a TMT, there is a whatever X charge. If a nurse does a IV cannulation, there's a charge for a patient, which reflects in his billing. So these are nursing revenue options. So I started getting the data, and quietly I was working on it for nearly 2 months with a finance person. And I projected that I want to do a presentation on nursing revenues. Our CFO looked at me, nursing revenues? I said, yes. They didn't believe it. They said, okay, do the presentation. So that was in our management business review, monthly meetings. I made a presentation about 20 minutes in which I projected the nursing cost for all the hospitals and the organization. And I put up the nursing revenues and the nursing spend and training, etc. At the end of it, what I could show to them that we were 40% higher on nursing revenue as compared to the cost. They still didn't believe the data, although the data spoke for itself. The CFO made a comment. I would want to review this with you individually. It looks very fantastic, but too good to be true. I said, sure, we'll review it anytime. By then, I've become expert in that. And then we reviewed it. He said, oh my God, you guys have actually great revenue. And that became the starting point on projecting nursing revenues. All my nursing heads in that organization, about 12, 13 of them, each of them understood the nursing cost, the nursing revenue. Very proudly, they would call me end of the month, ma'am, hamara revenue itna ho gaya, hamara cost itna hai. So I'm just saying the data and your control and hold on everything you are doing. If you are not reactive, if you are not emotional, you speak with evidence, you got the data to prove, you got your nurse patient ratios, you got your adverse events for patients, your hospital acquired infections going high because of poor nurse patient ratios, because of poor consumable quality, because of non-availability of resources, because of an equipment breaking down and you don't have a backup. No management is ever going to question you for not spending. They would rather welcome this. That's, you see here, this is for patient safety. If there is a safety issue in an organization, image of the hospital, footfalls in the hospital, image of the doctor, everything is shattered within a shortest span of time. Consumer court is so high now, even in the healthcare field. So I would say that nursing cost is not questioned. If you are able to tell them why do you need to increase the cost, why do you want additional people, why do you want skilled people, why do you want people in the intensive care, why do you want a certain specialized number of nurses, or why do you want XYZ, anything. It is just that. So there will be no struggle in the management rooms. I've never faced it, to be very, very honest.
Great, great. So the beauty of data. Uh, Moving to Thankam, and I'm sure Thankam also faced multiple such board meetings and management reviews in her earlier avatar, as Forty said. So, were there situations where, nursing excellence priorities competed with, let's say, financial compulsions or business priorities at that point in time, Thankam?
Okay. So my trajectory there is slightly different than Binu, because Binu got invited on a platter to come to Max. And I reached, I was on sabbatical. I was never, managing anything more than maybe 180 nurses. And then the Fortis happened to call me for the first hospital. And they themselves, the management themselves, are starting the hospital for the first time. Not much of healthcare experience, except for few very star doctors who had come from US and all. They were there. So for me, I never had to worry about money because everything came free, in Middle East. You never had to do billing. Inventory management was a different thing altogether there. And so when I came here, a couple of things I learned very quickly. One, I learned that my clinical knowledge and confidence in critical care won the doctors. They say, oh, she's not the typical superintendent. जो सिर्फ count करते हैं कितना लोगों को कहाँ लगाना है. They said, oh, she's different. So having your confidence in your clinical, whichever field that you have specialized, and able to discuss on that clinical matters with the doctors broke the barriers. Now when it came to sitting with the management, but initial period when I was able to guide the team on buying the right stuff, then they realized that she thinks more than just her numbers, nurses. She's thinking for the organization. I have never sat in any reviews, financial reviews. So I was sitting there. Then again, like Binu, I was thinking, all this Excel, all these numbers. I said, unless I have to make a difference, then only they will notice me. I realized that, I have to understand money and I have to make some evidence and say, this is the money. So first thing I remember is that we were looking at the cost of CABG. No, the cost of, then there is chargeable items, non-chargeable items, consumable, all that stuff is there. So I learned all that and I was looking at the line item, and then I tell the story in my trainings also. I kept looking at the Excel and they were talking about the non-chargeable consumable items. So that was coming to a exact figure, I don't know, per patient it was some 1500. That money is not getting recovered, it's just being used but it's not getting recovered. So I looked at that and I said, maybe we can do something there. I will discuss with my OT manager and see, what can be done. So my next, abhiyan was to sit with the OT manager, and thus she's a nurse only. Put down all the things that they are not, billing to the patient, and then that one exercise. From there, I think I was able to bring it down to 800 per case. Then you can imagine if you do 100 CBGs, how much you will save. So every time I'll say, we saved this much money, very proudly I'll say. Then next time when there is a problem, I said, you want me to save money? I used to use a bit of humor. That was my style of, working with people, then I'll smile, I'll say, okay, I'll have a look at it. Then since I was not knowing anything and I'm very curious, so I will go and try to see that what can I do. So when I did not get nurses, because the HR was hired to give me less nurses, I am hired to get more nurses. So we will fight. And believe me, I have also cried. Okay, when they are not giving me nurses, I have cried. And then I said, crying is not going to help. So I started looking at evidence and I very quickly learned Excel and I started putting everything in Excel. So after about 6 months, any data anybody will ask, because I have collected everything in Excel. Being a new operational hospital, they were only getting big processes set in place. So suddenly somebody will ask, what's the LOS for all the CBG patients last? So somewhere I say, LOS? I said, yeah, the average is this much, maximum is this much, this is the problem. Then this is without anyone, this is a self-effort. One day I presented where I showed all the quality indicators that we have tracked with the nurse patients ratios that we could maintain, and then potential saving we could have done if we had kept the ALOS intact. You are supposed to send a patient in 3 days time, but you are sending the patient in 5 days time. And in that 2 days, we are not making much billing. The initial billing happens in the first 24 to 48 hours. This all I learned myself, gathered all the numbers, put them into graphs into one sheet, one slide. Then I said, I am not no expert. I am not a statistician. This is a story. Then it was like everybody is quiet. Then from there on, it was not very difficult to get the management to look at me and say that, yes, we want to listen to you. Then, yes, I wouldn't say it was a bit of a challenge to get into boardroom and get into the larger, group where decisions are being made. Every organization has its own evolution of that, So I would only say that, as Binu mentioned, if you don't have evidence, if you don't have data, they're only stories. So they'll say, nursing head will come and she will cry for nurses. Number de do, number de do. I have heard CEOs talking like this to me. Kya, madam, why don't you get them to talk like that, But we internally, we try to set in processes where, all nursing heads can talk about revenue. And so it's very important to know that aspect. If you don't know, approach someone, learn about it. And there's one more thing I would like to share with all of you sitting here. I mean, after I became independent, a lot of company approach me for different things. Sometimes they ask me, please refer nursing heads. There is a position vacant. So I would know in my network, somebody is looking for, some opening like that, like that. So I may refer. I will say, okay, please interview. And they're relatively smart, young nurse leaders. And I think they'll be able to do the job. But recently, the feedback that I get, They're not selected. So I would like to know what happened, because I didn't interview them. What happened? Why didn't they select? So there are two types of, view of nurse healthcare leaders. Some healthcare leaders, they want a nurse who can think strategically, not at a ground level. You have a vision. It's like a long runway. You know what to do for in another 5 years or 6 years. Know their numbers very well. They are impressed. Yes, they want your nursing also intact completely. That is one set of capabilities look for. The other one, they look for nurse leaders who are very docile. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. So there are organizations who love to have them. They say, "Come tension hai, bolegi nahi jada," right? So, okay. All right. So someone is becoming little AI savvy. Is
Somebody clicked onto the AI
no
companion.
problem, no problem. Thanks, Durga, because we would like to see what's the summary it is going to produce. Okay. Thanks for doing that. Okay, great. So what I'm saying is that, you won't get everything in a platter to fulfill all the needs of a particular designation. If you want to stick there and excel, invest in yourself. Look out for opportunities to build that skill. Talk to people who can help you to. Please don't pretend that you know everything. Because I have been in this leadership training for too long. I would say from 2013 till now. A lot of leaders, get trained and pass through me. I'm not talking about, people like Binu and other senior leaders, who are very confident of what they are doing. They know the numbers, they know the Excel, they know the business. But there are many such leaders in the country. Yes, one more thing I would like to add, I will ask Binu also. What is the power of communication?
Oh my
I'm
God, you
as
touched upon my favorite
so
subject.
so I'm because Indrani was I thought before she asked, let me ask, because I always, keep on talking that whatever you have got here, it doesn't matter. You have all kinds of degrees in the world, you know everything in the world, but you cannot articulate, cannot make an intelligent argument for something. Won't that hamper the growth? Meenu, I'm asking you a question.
It would, so Thankam, you touched upon one of the most critical attribute a leader should have, and also even a junior most nurse to have.
Exactly.
Communication, communication, communication at every step. If a nurse can't communicate, if she can't comprehend, if she can't articulate, everything she knows in the classroom is a waste. Communication is the key to success. Unless the person who's listening to you, unless they understand your point of view, then everything is a waste. You cannot function as a leader at all. And healthy communication, healthy debates, healthy arguments. We all think that arguing is an unhealthy thing. No, please, whether a boardroom or a classroom or your own with teams, set up a culture of healthy debates, healthy argument. Be a good listener. That is also part of communication. Have the ability to write, whether on your digital platform or on paper, but develop this powerful tool, communication. I'll just give you an example in a conference. You will have 20 speakers over 2 days in a conference. All 20 come and speak. There may be more than 20. Out of that, you may have 2 or 3 impacting your mind, and that memory, their messages stay with you probably for a couple of years after that. Why? What is it they had special? They had the ability to communicate and to connect with the audience mind. It happens in everyday life. Communication will change everything. Communication is also the key to successful networking within teams. Nurses, again, a message for nurses and leaders in the call, that nurses have to work with hundreds of people in the hospital every single day. There's pharmacy, there is lab, there are GDAs, there are managers, there's front office, there is billing section, There are multiple doctors, there are students, there are young nurses, people of different kind. If you have learned the art of communication, you have mastered the art of leadership. That's my opinion. Keeping aside all other financial skills, competency, all that happens as you grow in your profession. Your knowledge has already happened. Your skills have happened long time back. What you develop over time is communication, confidence, and a polished style of leadership. That's what I would speak about communication. And Tangam is a very, very good communicator. She can catch the audience in any forum. If there are 10 people talking, people will get hooked on to a Tangam. That's the power of communication.
Thank you, Binu, for that compliment. All the leaders that anybody admires in this country, if you look at, everybody has this skill very well. This is influential communication.
Yes.
And I have also spent a lot of, even today, I've got 3 books. One is called The Good Communicator. How do you communicate with authenticity? What you should have in your mind when you're talking. Or, it's not about talking. It is about communicating, as Binu told, with an intent. You are thinking in your mind that when I'm going to talk, what is that I want to have? So if I connect with stories, it's because it attracts people and story kind of stays with them. So in most of my classes or wherever I talk, I like to bring in story. And I only know in my entire life, when I had been on stage, there was only one time I had, a written note and I was reading. This was only when Madam Sheila Dikshit was the chief guest for the conference that we arranged when I was in Fortis. And that day, so many people asked, "What happened, Thankam? You were not like yourself." Because I was having a paper and I was telling, Madam Sheila Dikshit, so and so, like very, very, what do you call, very poised and polished manner, with less smile. Then that day, everyone told, please don't make this your habit. This is not the
Not your
correct
style. Not your
not my
style.
style. So because it's not my style, probably I was even sounding artificial. So each one of us will develop our style in our own way. What we need to learn is some influential words that you need to use at a particular time. Because when you want to argue on something that you are wanting to argue, you should have some good words. I'm not talking about very, starry and, never heard words, because then nobody will understand, you know. So should have powerful words, but used at the right time with the right punch and all that stuff. I think we learn over a period of time. But if we
Time.
continue to talk to our team in local language, this is very sad. We are not helping them to learn, neither are we improving our conversational ability. So please, all the leaders here working with your team, please be kind and force them to speak in English so that they become better communicators. Binu is already raising hands.
I'm saying that, Tangam, just adding on to what you were saying. For nearly 25 years, since the time I entered corporate way back in 2002, I have put a lot of effort and stress on people developing English speaking, English communication, only for a simple reason that they'll become confident communicators. They will command respect once they master the art of speaking English. Many a times it is misunderstood in the environment that why can't we speak in Hindi or in our own language? It's good to know your mother tongue. It's good to know Hindi. We don't have to make special effort to learn it or speak. But at the place of work, if you make efforts to improve your English communication, you just speak with your team, as Thankam just mentioned. It will make you better and better communicators. And let me just also endorse in today's time, the fresh graduate nurses who come to us. Every Monday, we start a nursing induction with about 70 people in Delhi for our Delhi NCR hospitals. They come for a 6 days program. I find time and interact with them. It gives me a lot of pleasure to interact with just young professionals, just straight out of colleges. Their communication is superb. They're very confident. They know their mind. And I'm sure there'll be different kind of leaders. They won't be like conventional leaders, what we have or what we had. Times are changing now. Nursing leaders are also changing. Young managers are making better leaders. But communicate, if someone can communicate well, you've already scored over many others in your leadership scorecard.
You
It
know,
makes a difference.
just a corollary to what both of you said, I was getting nostalgic. So, I mean, people today tell me that, okay, I mean, I'm a decent communicator on stage. I have a decent presence. But, even just maybe 10, 15 years back, 10 years into my career, basically, I was always one of those folks who was, they were classroom mein hote hain na, when they are at the back, and they're really scared that the teacher will now ask them their name or whatever one by one. I was one of those, those introverts. And for most of my life, I've been an introvert, including 10 years into a profession. And then, I suddenly realized that the work is not going to do all the talking, especially in HR, the field that I am in. I had to learn to do various types of communication, including platform communication. And guess what came? What has really helped me? Pick up platform communication skills. I kept watching and watching and watching Shah Rukh Khan movies and Shah Rukh Khan interviews. Okay, and you can pick your star, but the point I'm trying to make is show people have a certain style and a flair. A lot of TV interviews I would watch, a lot of panel discussions, and of course, had the exposure to many good leaders, watching them live speak. So, and then you just pick those up and then you practice those in front of a mirror. And, I mean, if you're born with great communication skills, fantastic. But I think everybody can become a decent communicator. So
Definitely. I would again add to that, Indrani. People can listen to various recorded videos on communication of famous leaders. I
correct.
mean, you listen to our foreign minister, wonderful English he speaks. You listen to Mr. Shashi Tharoor, what an English. So listen to different kind of people, and you will develop your own style of communication. You don't need to copy anybody, but those are the powerful tools you can pick up. There are so many. I just
Correct.
named a few because I've listened to them, all of them, and I keep listening to them to develop still better communication. Yeah.
No, fabulous, fabulous. I think that's an invigorating discussion we've had on communication, and just goes to say how important it is as a skill to pick up. Cool. I'm mindful of the time, and there is something a little fun section I want to do at the end. So before we get into that, I want to ask two more serious questions. Okay. One is, I cannot let two powerful, strong leaders go from the show without sharing with us, one really tough, or one of the toughest decisions that you had to take as a leader, that was quite difficult, challenging, and just if you could share that story.
Should I
Maybe
go?
Who first?
whoever.
Whoever. Thankam,
Okay.
you go first.
Okay.
Okay.
So there were many toughest decision, but one thing that I had a very tough time was an incident that happened after I came back to India. A patient was harmed because of a wrong prescription by a doctor. Okay. And the nurses were not at fault. This is, we could find out. But I was a little smart because I worked with doctors for 16 years. So I kind of know their reg se wakif walima. Okay. The doctor wrote the wrong order, and then the nurse gave the medicine. Patient had an event, and then patient had to be shifted to ICU. By the time the doctor went back, and it didn't correct yet. Morning, I got the call, so I came early from home. I was in the hospital by 6 a.m. or something. I asked them to bring the, file. So I made the photocopy of the order and I kept with myself. Okay. Because I had a feeling, I had a similar incident in my ICU when I was working abroad, where the doctor denied that I wrote that order because he went and corrected. He wrote 40 units when I was abroad, insulin, 40 units, where he wanted to write 4. But the nurse was smart. So she came and told, Thankam, he has written 40. I said, oh. So I took a photocopy and I called the doctor and said, because it is abroad, you cannot make it public because the doctor will be asked to leave or something. I called and I said, Ki doc, you wrote 40. You should thank my nurse who noticed and did not give 40. So he said, send me the file. And I have a copy already. I sent the file and I knew what will happen. So when the file came back, it was written 4. He corrected the 0. He cut the 0. So then I called him. I said, now you need to come to my ICU right now. Otherwise you're in trouble. Then he said, what? I said, I know what you did in the file. He was in my office within 5 minutes. I'm sharing the story is that you need to take the fight when it is required to take the fight. It's very important. So when he came, I said, please don't talk anything. This was your original prescription. I took a copy and this is what you did in your OPD. What do you want me to do? So he became very restless. I said, see, you know that I cannot talk this out because you will be sent out from the country. So he said, I'm sorry and all that stuff. Okay. So because I had this experience, so here also I took a photocopy of the prescription. And then what happened was that the doctor, as told, he went back and corrected the prescription. And then the HOD calls me for asking what happened, how it happened. So I explained the story. And he said, no, he had written the correct, order. So then I kept the copy with me. Then I called the shift in charge. I said, you need to tell me the truth. What exactly happened? Because they were all trying to protect each other. So I told that I can only help you if you tell me the truth. So finally, she came out with this saying that the doctor came back. She clarified the order again and again. I don't want to tell the details of the error, but we know that the harm was done. So the nurse told me the doctor came back and he forced me and he changed the order to the correct one. So I went back and I showed the photocopy and I told Ki, this is double mistake. You did a mistake and then you wanted to cover it. I said, this is criminal. The nurse, we had to let go of her because it was a serious harm with the only thought, those second victim, third victim thoughts were not there that many years ago. I was only thinking that if no action is taken on this, the remaining 1%, if I don't take any action, if let's say you have 700 nurses, one nurse made a mistake, broke the protocol and followed something that she was not supposed to follow, harmed the patient. Remaining 699 nurses are watching what's happening. So that time, it was decided in a group meeting that the person need to be let go or suspended till the time the full investigation is over. So I told the doctor, I told the HOD, your doctor also has to go. If my nurse goes, he has to go because he is part of the. So he said, I can't get this specialty that easily. Finally, I was adamant. I said, no, my nurse will not go anywhere. She'll sit at home till you remove the doctor. Then he told me, give me 1 month. And you won't believe it. After 1 month, he was not gone. I used to call him every day. I'm seeing your doctor. I'm seeing your doctor. Because it's also credibility of nursing leader in front of the team. So that was very tough. But finally, the doctor was out. And that is the day my entire team always trusted the leader to be with them. It's very important. You need to be fair and firm. You're not always friendly where you had to take a tough call. You need to take a tough call. So there are many incidents, but this one is it was a very difficult battle for me, which I had to talk about it every day to the HOD who thinks that, the doctor should not be sent out. Very difficult to find. So I said, it's difficult to find nurses also. I said, how will my nurses ever trust me when doctor is an equal party in the same mistake? So this is one incident I will not forget. The first one was easy because the doctor admitted and then we went, we agreed. And I said, never ever try to do this, You can request the nurse and say, okay, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Let me correct it. That's okay. But don't say that I wrote it. That is lying. And that is definitely not something I condone. So now over to Binu. There's somebody at the door. I'll just go and open and come back in a
Sure.
minute.
Sure.
All
Binu, over
right.
to you. Yeah.
So many incidents come to my mind where we had to really take tough decisions. And in last 20, 25 years, many such incidents. But I'll just mention one, which is a different one, different type of incident, not the clinical one. This was regarding misbehavior to a female nurse by a very, very senior professional in one of the organizations. It happened long time back. And the incidents came to light. It was reported to the supervisor on duty and ultimately to me in the late evening. And by next day morning, we had gotten a video from the nurse on my mobile phone. She had recorded what happened, and she had taken a night bus away from that city to go to home. Because when we tried calling her, she wasn't picking up the phone. But we had the video of what happened. And then we started checking with many other nurses in the hospital. We got to know that this is not the first time. Okay. So I brought it up to the senior leadership and at the corporate office. And I said, this is what has happened. We need to take a decision. We need to do the fact finding. We need to take a decision. So they heard me. They had all the empathy. And they said, yeah, what we will do, we will get a written apology from so and so. I said, apology for what? They said, apology for the misbehavior. You know, it can happen by accident. Nobody wants to do it, etc., etc. I said, this is not accident or anything. This was intentional. It is proven as well by the committee. So again, we had a meeting not once, twice, or thrice. In the third meeting, when I saw everyone wanting to protect because the person concerned was the highest revenue generator person. The hospital was new. The hospital's revenue or top shit dependent upon that business. And everyone was scared to take any call. I was not. So they said again, written apology. Okay, we will call the nurse and so, and we'll get the apology done in person. I hope that satisfies you. I said, no. I only want to make a statement. Suppose it was my male nurse who misbehaved with a female doctor. Would you just stop at an apology, written or verbal? There was pin drop silence. They asked me some time. I said, take your time. Again, in 24 hours we met, and they said, you need to forgive the person. Give us some other solution other than letting go. I said, in that case, I would myself go. I do not wish to stand as a leader for my 2,000 people where I can't even protect them. Then I am not eligible to be a leader. Then you please allow me to go. With that, everybody else got up. All got up. The person was called and made to exit. Simple. It was probably one of the tough decisions because I was on one side and many others on the other side. They had right intentions, but they were finding it tough to make such a tough decision. But ultimately, it was taken in about 3 days, 4 days' time, not more than that. And the nurse was called back. She continued to work in that hospital with pride and respect. And everybody else was so conscious after that of their behavior. It set the tone for right behavior with every single colleague in the hospital, whether it's a housekeeping or anybody else. And many people actually came over and thanked me that what you did needed a lot of courage as a leader. And I mean, I did it because my conscience would not let me do any other way. That was a young nurse in question. So this was one of the tough decisions. We've taken many, like what Thankam said on clinical, many a times we had to take those tough decisions. But this was one which still plays in my mind many a times when I think back.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that incident, Binu, and thank you for sharing the incident that you shared, Thankam. As leaders, I think tough decisions are, you all have to take all the time, and especially when you're heading such large teams and everybody's looking at you, and the system's not supporting you. So kudos. You all did the right thing, and I wish more people will pick up courage from these and keep doing the right things instead of being absolutely like silently respectful. That we need. Nobody's god, I think, and it's just everybody playing their part and everybody doing the right thing. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. We're already at 8:30. With permission from both of you and the audience, can we extend by about 5-7 more minutes before we close? Is that okay?
5 minutes, okay.
5 minutes is okay. Okay. So I will, one last question, basically. Both of you are also, you've been fabulous leaders, in stressful jobs, in difficult jobs, and also, both of you are also parents, mothers. Uh, was it difficult balancing that? And if so, but how did you? Are there one or two tips you can share for our audience?
Who goes first? Tangam?
Okay. As I told you, I usually do not have that something called work-life balance. Personally, I enjoyed being a mother. I enjoyed being a nurse. And I knew that, when I try to sacrifice anyone, it will be painful for me. So I invested the right amount of time at the right place at the right time. It was important. So it was easy because I only have one son and I'm a single parent, so no confusion of decisions. So nothing like we'll sit and talk today, what's going to happen tomorrow. So nothing like that. So that way, my life was pretty simple. I had help at home. Without her, I would not have managed. God bless her. She's still with me after 23 years, and she's managing everything. So I'm sitting here and nicely, talking. And when she goes on leave, I am not available for most of the things. So I can't think of major challenges or something. And I think when you become a nurse, just being a nurse, I think you somehow learn to multitask and achieve everything. I don't know. That's what I personally feel. You have the patience and you have the courage, you have time to listen. And yes, there are many ways we become happy. When my son was very small, whatever happens in the hospital, whatever stress, when I go home, he will jump on my lap. Everything forgotten. So I have learned myself that, I should not internalize problems. I mean, it takes time to look at the problem as a problem, something that needs to be, found a solution. So I think we all find our own way of being peaceful. Each one's life is not a copy paste. All of us have our own challenges. So, but I think again, I go back to the profession, say that because I am a nurse and I've had a lot of experiences, it helped me to be a good mother. I hope my son will say I'm a good mother. Yeah, he will say that I only can manage one don in my life. So
Nice.
yes, yes, and I
Binu?
I do a lot of things that brings me happiness and peace. And now I have got a golden retriever Riley with me, and he's pure joy to
Nice.
see him love unconditionally. I mean, that's really a blessing. So we all have our own way of being happy and peaceful.
Very nice. Colonel Binu, what was your secret sauce?
Life as a nurse demands a lot of time. And especially in the army, where we used to do 12 hours every alternate day, we used to do 1 month night duty. Those were tough times. At times, I used to feel a bit guilty because my daughter was very small those days, although I had a house help, everything. But there are moments when, as a mother, when your kid is small, you feel a bit guilty, you're not able to contribute much time. But that is a very, very short period till your kid starts going to school, just a few years. Post that, I think I manage my time, I manage my hobbies, I manage my fun time, I manage my national and international tours, vacations, conferences, my work very well. I still think I have so much of time I can do more. So I have not struggled with personal and professional life challenges. It's gone on smoothly with little re-engineering and redesigning and becoming as such. Women are multitaskers. Nurses can do more multitasking. So we have the privilege of being a woman, that too a nurse, and it works wonderfully. I've never struggled with time management per se.
Wow.
And I still can do a lot more in these 24 hours every single day.
I look at both of you and it feels like, life has just come 50% midway. Abhi to picture aur bhi baki hai. Second half to bhi baki hai. Baki hai mere dost. So fabulous. Last
Yeah.
60 seconds, and this is a rapid fire round. So I'll start with Binu. It's two choices I'm going to give you, or a quick answer to a question. Okay. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
Morning person.
Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Beach.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
You can even tell me vodka, but that's okay.
I love all kind of coffee, the filter coffee, the bean coffee, the Starbucks cappuccino. I'm a coffee lover. I take about 20 cups of tea and coffee every single day, even now,
Wow.
even in summer.
Wow.
That
Favorite
keeps
movie?
my fire going, burning. And my
Favorite
team knows it. Everyone in the call will endorse whoever knows me. 20 cups a day.
Wow. And your hobby?
My hobby, reading, having fun, doing vacations.
Cool. Moving to Thankam. Early bird or night owl?
I'm a night owl.
You're night owl. Beach, vacation or hill?
Anytime beach.
Coffee or tea?
Both, but in moderation. I can never imagine me drinking 20 cups of coffee. I will get my arrhythmias.
I don't
I
mind.
not agree with the coffee. Yeah.
And your hobby?
My hobby is singing, reading, watching movies, and now my hobby is playing with Riley.
If we had 2 more minutes, I would have actually asked you to sing, and I've heard Colonel Binu do Mushaira, but I think we will leave that for another
Next
time.
Next time, Indrani.
Yes, I am not doing it now, but thank you very much to both of you for this. Has been a fabulous
I would
conversation.
just end with a statement for everyone who understands Hindi. जिंदगी है कि जी नहीं जाती, जिंदगी है कि जी नहीं जाती, दोस्तों एक आदत सी बन गए हो तुम और आदत कभी नहीं जाती.
Oh,
Wow.
Ishad. And on that note,
Ishad,
thank you very
Ishad.
much for being such a wonderful audience. Thank you very much. And we'll, of course, share this on the YouTube channels and social media so you can watch the recording again. Thank you very much, Colonel Binu and Thankam, for the time you've spent. Apologies for the 10 minutes of overshooting we've done, but conversation itna badhiya tha. I just didn't have the heart to butt in and stop you.
हमारा
Thank you very
moderator
much.
इतना बढ़िया था.
Thank you,
Thank
beautiful
you very much.
moderator. Thank you so much,
Thank
Indrani,
you.
for bringing these tracks, and I'm sure that both of us will bring another two leaders here after some time,
Yes.
and
Yes.
just to ensure that their life is canned, and you can watch this anytime on the YouTube. So thank you so much, everyone, and God bless you and take care.
Thank
Bye
you
bye.
very much.
Bye,
Thank
Binu.
you.
Take care. Bye.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Colonel B. Thanks.
Thank you.